Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our class on the book of Exodus. Now, today we are in chapter 28, and it's a rather lengthy chapter, but we need to complete this chapter. And so we will not deal with it in too much detail, but enough for us to understand some of the Hebrew text that will bring out the meaning to a greater clarity. And I would like to show you a graphical representation because chapter 28 is seldom talked about, and it's with regards to the high priest's garments and the priests. And the reason why is because many people do not deal with just one particular chapter that is extremely long. And I trust that we will be able to go through with this and complete our work in good time. So let us begin. Chapter 28 starts this way. Now, take. Now, the word take is not quite the word take. It is to, how should you say, it's to bring near. All right, bring near. And this chapter speaks about one group of people, right? This group of people would be Aaron or Aharon, your brother, and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, which means that it is to separate them, right? Separate them. So they are these people, Aaron and his sons. Take them away from the children of Israel. And the idea here is that he may minister to me as a priest. Now, this is God speaking. The idea here is to minister to me, really talks about, how should you say, the word minister doesn't really appear, right? That he may be, well, let's see, how should we explain this? The word minister is actually obtained from the word priest, that he may act as a priest. I think that would be a better way to that he may serve as a Kohen, right? As a Kohen. And this is a cuff. So a Kohen in this case is this. The idea of a priest is really a religious role, right? And to act as a mediator, a conduit, an official on behalf of God with regards to the religious rituals. And so this word minister as priest is one word. And this is a priest to God. Now, in most religions, there are priests, because all religions and pagan or idol worshippers, they use priests as a middleman, and the priest interprets everything and represent the gods that they are speaking to. And you know that the other gods have no life. So the only thing that you hear is from the priest. Now, in this case of the Israelites, it is God who decides who become priests, and he tells it to Moses. Now, remember, Moses and family like Aaron or Aharon comes from the Levitical tribe, or the tribe of Levi, or the Levites. And God chose specifically Aaron, not just anyone from the tribe, but Aaron and his sons, which means that this role is not for all of Levites, but Aaron and sons from the tribe of Levi, and they will serve as priests. And this is an honor, because to serve as priests is to be set apart, that they have this particular role that is reserved only for them. Aaron and Aaron's sons. And at this point in time, he has 4 sons. Nadav, Avihu, this is Eleazar, and Ithamar, right? There are 4 sons. And so it's Aaron and 4 sons. Now, later on in the book of Numbers, we see Nadav and Avihu killed by God because of something that they did. But now let's carry on with verse 2. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron, your brother, for glory, for beauty. Now, one of the things about a priesthood that God has set apart here is to have holy garments. What is holy garments? It is not holy in the sense of pure. It is holy in the sense of different, special. So special garments is a good word to talk about. Now, garments are covering. Because the word garments is a modern term. So special coverings. And it means that when you see a person in these kinds of an attire, that person will be fulfilling the role of the priests or the priesthood. And so in this case, chapter 28 describes the differentiation of the children of Israel, and amongst them all, Aaron and sons becomes Kohen, priests, and they have a special garment. And the purpose is for glory and beauty. This is an A and a B. Basically, it speaks about honor, splendor. And when they wear these garments or these kinds of covering, now I prefer to use the word coverings is because it actually overlays Aaron in a few layers. Just like what we read in the past few chapters with regards to the tabernacle, that there are different layers that covers the tabernacles. So Aaron, the garments of Aaron for glory and beauty or honor and splendor is the same concept with the emphasis that it is going to be extra special. And so you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans. Now, there is no word called artisans here. Basically, how should we say? These are people who have a wise heart, who have a wise heart. And that's basically what it describes, a wise heart, skillful. Right? These are people who are intelligent, who are skillful, who has this particular ability. And God says, I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as a Kohen. Notice, we have spoken earlier, this is God's tabernacle, and it is God's design, built around God's rules, based on what God says he wants to be done. And God is that particular, including the garments of the priests. And not only that, you notice, God is giving certain people a particular ruach, an ability of wisdom. And in this case, when you talk about wisdom, it will be very much with regards to of experience and skills to do these kinds of things. that they may make Aaron's garments. And consecrate him is to make holy. And that is the same word here, right? To make holy. To make him holy by putting on that garment, that he may do his work as a priest. He acts or minister as priest. Same word, right? So notice the priest is distinguished not because he had a longer beard or he looks different. The only reason he looks different is the garments. And God made very sure that the garments are specifically made with people that he has endowed. The word filled here literally means to be complete. To be complete with this experience. So this is not a novice that we're talking about. This is not somebody who has just begun to weave cloth. These are people who are particularly outstanding, and they have this gift, I guess you can say, because this is not the word spirit of wisdom is about the composure, the composition of the person, right? With the special ability to make these particular garments, because these are God's special garments. Now notice in verse 4, he mentions these. These are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe or a coat, skillfully woven tunic that's long, a turban that's for the head, and a sash. And these are the holy garments for Aaron, your brother, and his sons, that they may minister as priests. So the priesthood, and in this case, it is the priest, and that would be Aaron himself, would be the special garment that they have to make. Now, one of the things that you will begin to notice if you had a chance to read chapter 28 is that you'll be wondering, how did God describe the garments or whatever needs to be put on by Aaron? And you will see that it is a bit here, a bit there, on top and at the bottom. But nevertheless, if you spend enough time to mull over chapter 28, you will soon see that God describes the most important pieces of attire first in an order of importance or of decreasing importance. That would be my take to this chapter, right? So let's carry on. Which tells us the most important piece that they need to make is to weave fine linen of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet. And notice, in those days, you don't have dyes or chemical dyes. All of these are taken from natural sources, whether it's from animals, plants, minerals, or worms, or shellfish, or flowers. They have the ability to get natural composition, and that's what God wants them to do. Now notice, because this is a special garment, holy garment means special coverings. They will be outstanding because the moment somebody puts them on, you may be the richest man in town, it will never match these kinds of garments. And so God wants to make it very different. The first thing they had to make is the ephod. The ephod is this. In verse 6, an ephod really is, how do you call it? I would think in today's terms, an ephod is a vest. In today's terms, meaning it is hung on in some ways, vested on, not like clothing, but an outer garment that is placed over something else. And this would be the outer piece, the outer piece that will make the person stand out. And it is made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, woven linen. And it says here, in verse 6, at the end of verse 6, it is artistically worked. Now, the word artistically worked means it is very specially crafted. And all I think it will tell is that this will be very different. This is not what a normal person will be wearing. Okay? And it shall have 2 shoulder straps, which means this. It should look something like that. And so these are shoulder straps. Okay. And so this is the vest that I think it looks like. I'll show you some representation after this. So this is the ephod. Joined at its 2 edges. It shall be joined together, and it should be intricately woven. This would be a very special woven band of ephod, and it shall be the same workmanship, gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, and finally woven. So this is really another thing would be a band, and this would be you can call it a girdle, a belt. Okay, and so that would be an ephod and a belt of the ephod. So we have 2 pieces of garments here, right? Now we go on to verse 9. Verse 9 now describes something about the ephod. It says, you shall take 2 onyx stones. Now, the onyx stones are precious stones. I suppose it is, I guess, green color, precious stones. And on it, you have to engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel. 6 of their names on one stone, 6 on the other stone, in the order of their birth. Now, who are we talking about here? The 12 sons of Jacob. In the order of their birth, from Reuben being the first, and Benjamin being the last. And so 6 on one stone, 6 on the other. And basically what you would find is this. He said, on the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet. A signet, basically, in verse 11, is like a seal. Right? It's like a seal. And in some cases, it's like a ring. And so it has mounting. It has mounting. And you shall engrave on the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel, set them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. And so Aaron shall bear. Now, bearing the names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders. Bear means to carry. And in verse 12, the idea of carry is to lift up, to bear up, to carry. So I think the word carry works, before the Lord on his two shoulders as a memorial. Now, the word memorial in verse 12 is a remembrance, which means that every time you see those two stones, you remember. So it's settings of gold, and then two chains of pure gold, like braided cords, fasten the braided chains to the settings. Now, interestingly, let me double check. In verse 9, this is actually what kind of a stone? It could be onyx, beryl. It's some kind of pale green or dark green, or that kind of a stone. I'm not quite sure how it will look like. It's dark in color, possibly that looking closer to black, but it's actually a greenish type of stone. And that's all about the ephod. And that in itself, up to verse 14, tells us that this is the most important piece of work that has to come first in that description. So that tells us that God always is reminding the Israelites that God wants to see the names of Israel, the 12 tribes, all the time. Remember, we talked about the showbread, the table for showbread. And that's what we are looking at now on the ephod with the two onyx stones with the 12 names again. So this is the second instance that God is putting upon the nation of Israel, that they are always viewed as 12 tribes. They cannot lose that identity. It's 12 tribes. Now, carrying on, chapter 28 to verse 15. Now, from verse 15 is our second piece of very important element. You shall make the breastplate of judgment. The idea of the breastplate is a, how should we call it? Breastplate is actually a breast piece that you place over the chest, right? Over the chest. And it could be, now we don't know exactly whether it is, I don't think it's made of metal. It is made of the same special work for the ephod that uses gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread of fine woven linen. So this is a breast piece rather than a breastplate or a pouch, right? And you just bear with me. It is likely a piece that is sewn like a pouch that is hung around the neck, and it drops around the neck and it covers the chest. Now it says of judgment. And yes, it does mean the word judgment. The word here is mishpat. Mishpat can be read as judgment or justice. It is also privilege. And so this breast pouch, right? We'll use the word breast pouch, is to let them know that there is an avenue of how God is going to make decisions for them. And it needs to be of the same workmanship of the ephod, and it shall be doubled into a square. The span of its length and breadth and its width is the same. right? A span is like a palm spread. A palm spread. Let me see how we can explain this. It is approximately half cubit. Approximately half cubit. So a span is really this way. If this is your hand and this is your thumb, and so finger, pinky, the idea here of a span would be like this. From the thumb to the little finger. That would be a span, right? That would be a span. And I guess people's hands are fairly big those days. The word here is zareth, right? Zareth, but it's in English, it's called a span of the palm of a hand. Now, this is a square, as you can see, right? A span length and a span its width. And so in this square, you are to align it with a setting of stones, 4 rows of stones. And you would find that 4 rows would be this. If this is a square, it will be divided by 4 rows of stones this way. Now notice, this is God's design. The designer, although they are filled with the spirit of wisdom, or the ruach of wisdom or skills, they are not to decide how to make this breast pouch. They are to follow exactly how the pouch is done. So God's effort, then that's God's way. The first row, and then you get 12 precious stones, right? 12 precious stones. From verse 17, the first row would be sardius, would be a ruby, topaz, an emerald, like a beryl, green in color, turquoise, sapphire, a diamond. Not sure whether it is truly a diamond, but it would be a hard stone. Third row of jacinth, some form of a gem, possibly jacinth. I'm not very familiar with many of these stones. I'm just reading out to you an agate and amethyst. The fourth row looks like, in verse 20, another precious stone, maybe a yellowish one, a beryl, and then followed with an onyx or a carnelian, possibly from something dark, and a jasper, right? And jasper would be something like jade, and it be in gold settings. The stone shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to the names, like the signet, one with each its own name, according to the 12 tribes, which are the 12 sons. Now, in this case, you'll be interested to find out that Joseph is represented and not Manasseh and Ephraim. Right? They are not represented in this case. Verse 22 tells us that you make chains for the breastplate, so it's going to be hung around the neck like braided cords of pure gold, just like the onyx stone that's put on the edges of the ephod. You shall make 2 rings of gold for the breast pouch, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breast pouch, right? Not plate. I don't like the word plate. The breastplate is too Roman. Then you shall put the 2 braided chains of gold in 2 rings, which are the ends of the breast pouch. And the 2 ends of the braided chains you shall fasten to the 2 settings and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in the front. And so maybe it looks something like this. You have an ephod, and then you have the rings, and it shall be braided, and this will be the pouch. And so it's hanging on the ephod. It's a piece of the ephod as well, like a necklace, but not specifically around the neck. Then you shall make 2 rings of gold, put them on 2 ends of the breast pouch, and on the edge of it, which is on the inner side of the ephod, you shall make them on the 2 shoulder straps underneath the ephod towards the front, right at the seam above the intricate woven band of the ephod. And they shall bind the breast pouch by the means of the rings to the rings of the ephod, using a blue cord, very specific color, so that it's intricately woven band of the ephod, so that the breast pouch does not come loose from the ephod. So it is somewhat sewn to the ephod. It's like an ornament that's on the ephod. So Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breast pouch of justice, of privilege over his heart. Because the breast pouch is actually covering his chest, which is where his heart is. And so as a high priest, he always does this work on behalf of all of Israel. And when he goes into the holy place, and verse 29, the word holy place is really the kadosh, right? Or the kodesh, the holy location, as a remembrance before the God, the Lord continually. That he continually do this. He will put in the breast pouch. Notice, in the breast pouch of justice, the Urim and Tumim. Now, this is something which we will take another day, but let me just put this word in. These are what we call the oracle device, how God speaks to them. This is called the Urim and the Tumim, right? The Tumim. The Tumim and Urim, they are what we call decision rocks, right? Decision rocks, 2 pieces of it. And based on the rocks, there will be recorded the judgment of God or the decisions of God, right? The breastplate of judgment or decisions. And in that pouch, you get these 2, Urim and Tumim. And they shall be over Aaron's heart. When he goes in before the Lord, he comes to the face. To the face of the Lord. And he shall bear the judgment. And the idea here, bear the judgment or bear the decisions of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord continually. Right? That's the idea. Come to the face. Right? To the face. And so Aaron's job now is described as one who is as priest, who acts as an official on behalf of the people to approach God. The priests of the pagan gods, the idols, the false gods, are the mouthpiece of God that is used by men to manage the lives of the people. Whereas in the case of Israel, God appoints a priest to act on behalf of the people. You see, the roles are totally different. Why? Because in the case of Israel, God is the one who decides. He is the ever-living one, the true and living God who decides how he wants people to approach him. In other cases, in other gods, the priests are actually telling the people what their gods are saying because they can't hear God. Now, we have seen from chapter 19, they were trembling when they saw God. And so this is the living God deciding all these things. Now, besides the ephod, which we have seen, there are other things. There will be a robe of the ephod of all blue. It's a specific color. Now, what is this robe? This robe is what we call a coat. A coat. This is an outer covering, not a vest, right? The ephod is a vest. This is not a vest. This is really a coat. That is a proper garment, right? A proper robe. I think robe is a good word. And this is a full robe of the ephod. And there shall be an opening for the head in the middle of it, so it is slipped on, and have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening of a coat of mail. In verse 32, the idea here is the how do we call it? The hem, like the lining, a coat with lining. I think that would be an easier way to express it, of lining, so that it will last longer and it won't wear off, right? That it does not tear. And the idea of tear is that it would not cause itself to split by itself, cause to split. And that is the word tear. So notice this is even in ancient days, they are learning, they know how to sew hem, so that the natural cloth lining that they weave over time can come loose, right? The threads can come off. So they actually hem in the lining so that it doesn't split open. Now at the hem, at the bottom part, you shall make pomegranates. Now this is interesting. You shall make pomegranates. Now, pomegranates is a fruit. Nevertheless, it's a fruit. And a pomegranate fruit is actually round fruit. And so these are round ornaments. And they have colors of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all round. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all round. And you can see, if this was the coat, this would be the hem. And here you would sew what we call a pomegranate, a pomegranate, a pomegranate, a pomegranate, and a pomegranate. And then you would find a bell. That is what the text is very clearly saying, right? So there are bells and pomegranates in an alternating fashion. You can now see how God is so intricate in the design. It's God's way of service. And so he wants all this done specially just for Aaron. Just for Aaron, when he ministers, serves as a priest, And so that the sound of the bell when he walks and he goes into the holy place before the Lord. Now, when we talk about the holy place, I think it would be the Holy of Holies, right? The inner portion. And when he comes out, that he may not die. What do you mean? When you go in to see God, and if God is unhappy, the high priest can be killed. This is not a job that everybody would be clamoring to apply for. And so God gives this very specifically to Aaron. It's not by democracy that they vote like the elders. This is actually done because God wants Aaron to do it. Not just anyone, Aaron and his sons. God's sanctuary, God's tabernacle, God's service to be done God's way, right? And so this is how you have to make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it like the engraving of a signet. Now 36 is different already. 36 starts a new idea, okay? We have completed verse 35 so that we will be familiar that all that is done with the robe. Now we will look at verse 36. Verse 36 speaks of a plate of pure gold and engrave on it like the engraving of a signet, which means that you engrave on a, well, it says a plate. In verse 26, this, how should we say? It's like a gold plate that is like a tiara kind of thing that is bright and polished, made of gold, and on it is to inscribe these words, holiness to the Lord. And this would be Kodesh La Yehovah. That's what it means. Kodesh La Yehovah, holiness to the Lord, and it's to be worn by this person. But it's not complete. It's not just a tiara in itself. And you shall put on it a blue cord that it may be on the turban. And so you're looking at a turban, and you would have blue over it. And then on this, you would get the words, holiness to the Lord. And that's generally how it is to be seen. On the Day of Atonement, he won't be wearing the outer, the coat of the ephod. That's right. It shall be on the front of the turban on Aaron's forehead. So when you put the turban on, it will be on Aaron's forehead that he may bear. Now notice he's already bearing the two onyx with the 6 names on each onyx on his shoulders. He's bearing the 12 names of the 12 tribes of Israel on his chest in the breast pouch. Now he will bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel is set apart for their holy gifts. It shall be always on his forehead that he may be accepted before the Lord. So all the acceptance is this. If you look at this headpiece, in verse 38, he will have to bear the iniquity, and this would be the avon, any of the wrongs that they have done with regards to the holy things. What is the holy things? When they bring their offerings, they are the holy things. These are the gifts to God, right? Whether it's free will or ritual atonement, which the children of Israel shall make holy, right? Hallow here is to make holy, to be holy, to make special. Remember, holy just means special. And it will always be completed by Aaron. From verse 39, you can now see here, you shall skillfully weave the tunic of fine linen. Now, there is another piece here. Tunic. In verse 39, a tunic is not a coat. A tunic is an undergarment. Now, what do you mean by undergarment? It is not an underwear yet, right? It is a long shirt that is underneath. So if you look at a picture, so what you have here is you have an ephod, and then you have the breastplate or breast pouch, and then you wear a turban, and then you have a coat, and then you have the undergarment, which is all the way down, right? Maybe it's not so short. So the coat will be longer. And then you have the inner coat. And this is the coat that we're talking about. That's worn on the inside, right? It's worn on the inside. Now this piece of garment, as you can see, there are now 3 layers. And then you shall make the turban of fine linen. You make the sash of woven work, which means that there is also something to tie the waist together so that all of these clothing will come together and not be splayed out to be loose, right? So now verse 40. And Aaron's sons, you shall make tunics. Now this is now Aaron's sons, not Aaron himself. You shall make tunics. Tunics is like this word here. They also wear tunics. And then you shall make sashes for them. Sashes would be a piece of scarf that you tie around the waist. And then you shall make, well, I won't say they are hats. They are supposed to wear turbans as well. Headgear. Right? This is not your caps. This is a headgear that they wear on top. And it will also serve them to be different for glory and beauty, to make sure that they are different, but not quite the same as the high priest. And you shall put on them on Aaron your brother, on his son. So now all these tunic of fine linen will be the same, whether it's Aaron or the sons. Now you shall anoint them. The word anoint them in verse 41 is to smear with, in this case will be with oil, right? Smear with oil. And this would be olive oil. Consecrate them. Consecrate them would be, and it says here, to complete them, to confirm them. To confirm them. This is not the same kadosh word, so I don't know why they like to put that in. It's confusing. And then to sanctify them. Now, the third word here is correct, and it would be to make holy or special. So Aaron and the sons are no longer just like everybody else. They have a role, and when they play that role, they wear all these garments and they will be special. That they may serve, do work for God and act as priests to do everything according to what God wants them to do. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness. Now in 42, this would be nakedness as shame or nudity. And in this case, it's their own. This is not talking about their wives, as what we have read in book of Genesis and in the book of Leviticus. In this context, it is for them. Linen trousers. Now, the word trousers, I would say that this would really be undergarment. Undergarment, trousers is actually a good word. This whole idea is that you wear this to hide something, right? Now they don't have things called briefs, right? For the men, and so they wear pants type, right? And so they're called trousers because they wear it like a pants that they hide everything. Now, what's the purpose of this is because, you remember, they will be walking up the altar, right? The altar is a platform. And so when you walk up the altar, you will not expose your body in any point in time. And so the outer garment is like a robe because it can fly up. But the inner garment is hiding, and this would be a trouser concept. It is to hide their nudity so that it will reach from the waist to the thighs. So it's like a pair of shorts, right? It's like a pair of shorts. They shall be on Aaron and his sons when they come into the tabernacle of meeting. This would be the Ohel Moed, or when they come near the altar to minister in the holy place, this sanctuary. The whole tabernacle is holy, that they do not incur iniquity and die, and God will strike them, right? And this one, Nadav and Avihu, they experience that. And this rule will be a statute. The word statute is regulation. This is an ordinance. And it is olam. Does it mean forever? As well, we don't know how long, but it's going to be a long time. To who? To Aaron and his descendants after him. So this is actually something that is put together as a rule for the priesthood. And in this case, God determines this. As I mentioned before, and I'm now repeating myself again, God's tabernacle, God's rules. The priest is appointed by God, decided by God what to wear, how to make all this, what they need to do, as opposed to the pagan idols having priests tell the people instead. So God is now telling them how to serve God on behalf of the people. That's the great detailed difference between the Israelites and the other gods, right? The other gods. In conclusion, I'd like to show you these pictures. Perhaps we could have a better idea. In the priestly garments, right? First, there is the ephod. This is the ephod, this piece here, right? It's like a vest. And then on the ephod, you would have the 2 onyx stones. And then everybody likes to call it the breastplate, but it's not a breastplate. This is a breast pouch tied together with all the 12 stones. And inside the breast pouch would be the Urim and Tumim. This would be the sash. And then this would be the robe. The outer piece with all the bells right here. The inner the inner piece is the ephod, and so you have it this way, the ephod, and then underneath would be the coat, and then you have a undergarment, undercoat, all right, is what is underneath, which is called the trousers. That would be what we would call the underwear today, right? Looking something like this, all right? This is your underwear. And these would be the two pieces here, all right? The breastplate is something like this. And so you have 12 rocks, right? I'm not familiar with the rocks, but this will give you a picture of it. And hence, this would be how in full stature the priestly garments would be. In this particular case, I think what is missing would be a blue thread right in the front, like this. Like this one here, you get something blue. This is missing, right? And so this will give you a picture of how the garments of the high priest may look like, right? May look like. So this would be very likely how that can be. Now notice they all will be barefoot, so there is no sandals designed for this. And with this, we come to the end of chapter 28.